Tenants, landlords, and families. What do they have in common? All fighting. Good afternoon, everybody. Wonderful Monday here in St. Louis, Missouri. I'm trying something new today. Going to do 3 articles, and I kind of like the juxtaposition of them. Big word. Sorry about that. Anyway, let's just try to get into it. It's going to be weird. I'm going to do a screen share, and hopefully that it hopefully it works out. So here we'll go to the first one, and it says, trial for landlord accused of threat to kill ex-tenant who asked for the deposit back. And so you sit here and you say, well, that's no good. What are we learning about this one? So it says, this fellow is accused of telling the ex-tenant he would pay $5,000, we're going to go with pounds, to get him shot, and he would be returning to his country either walking or in a box. And so that was not so good. And there was a complaint made and everything, and it said that it happened during a telephone conversation about the return of a deposit. It was alleged that the accused threatened to get a gun and put a bullet in his head. He would pay a sum of £5,000 to get him shot, and that the injured party would return to Romania either walking or in a box. And the conversation was on loudspeaker on the alleged victim's phone and video recorded. So that's that. So I don't know about you. I have some experience with property management and leasing and management. So some tenants are great tenants, and they will go through the inspection at the end, and they'll say, do I get my security deposit back? And I was always like, yes. If like a wall has like a chip and over 3 years of tenancy, I mean that wear and tear happens to every house. So I was always big on give back the security deposits when they do. When we went to an Airbnb about a week ago, and I didn't know who these people were, and I didn't know if the hosts were going to return our security deposit. We try to, be good people. And by the time we drove home, we'd already had an email that said we'd get our security deposit back. So I have always been pro security deposit. Now, as a third-party management company, there were times when we would have owners that were obsessed over the security deposit. And so it would get to the point where it was like the forest in the trees. Okay, and here's what I'd have to say. So let's just say the rent is $1,000 a month, and so there's $12,000 of income on the property. And let's just say that the security deposit was $1,000. Landlords at times would be like, "Hey, let's steal the security deposit, and that gets us a free $1,000, or we'll just not return it, and that'll give us $1,000. So now we made $13,000 instead of $12,000." That's not right. It had nothing to do with, and the other way it would go, which would be weird in the decision making, is this. Let's say a tenant, an applicant had terrible credit and shouldn't be leasing to that person. The landlord would say, hey, let's lease to them, and we'll just take their security deposit, and then we'll be in the clear. We'll just rent it out to somebody else, not realizing that it's really easy to put somebody in a house or an apartment, but it's very, very hard to get them out once you lease to them. So, and very expensive. And so, the idea that the landlord would sit there and threaten the fellow. Now it says it was a Romanian. So when I believe we were in Ireland or Scotland. So, it was clearly a foreign situation as far as the person was going back, and maybe the guy thought that he could take advantage of that person. But landlords aren't all bad, okay? But there's like a certain percentage that's not so great. I had some notes on that one. One, not too many today. One was that they were charged with threatening to kill somebody or harm them, which I thought was interesting. I don't know the laws here in the United States with. I don't know the chances of getting charged if you say I'll kill you. I have no idea, because it's not part of my daily language. But clearly it's a crime over there, so that'll be interesting. So the first story: landlords are not so great sometimes. We'll go to the next story. I do have to switch over. I'm sorry. So this was in the Scottish Sun. It says, house gross. Pregnant Falkirk landlord horrified after tenant leaves flat littered with cat poo, dirty nappies, and used sanitary pads. So here's a picture of the one of the rooms. And I don't know what pregnant has to do with it. That didn't make a lot of sense. Maybe it made a good headline, but it just says this flat was trashed by a woman who lived in the property in Falkirk with her 2 kids, leaving the landlord with a huge cleaning bill. And so they go through the pictures, and they're pretty terrible. Floor coming apart, not so good. Floor coming apart, not so good. And one of the quotes says, the gas people and the joiners were forever phoning my partner because of the mess of the house, not allowing them to work. They say that's some cat poo right there. So at the end it says the sorted flat was the last thing they needed. She is 8 months pregnant. So, and I agree with this. She added, I felt sorry for the tenant. I really don't know how anyone can live like that or do that to someone. And that's what I think as well. And so I have had experience with this before. And is it a mental illness? Like why would someone live this way? Why would someone take your property and do this? It doesn't make any sense. And so it makes me very uncomfortable. Like, I'm not a psychologist or psychiatrist, but when someone lives in, pet feces and filth, it's like there's something wrong. It's not normal to live that way. And so I feel sorry for the people. It's not not really funny. It's just gross that there are people today that will live in this type of condition. And you may say, well, they probably just trashed on their way out. No, this is probably the way these people lived. Like this was okay. And I was trying to think of as a property manager, where would have been my hint? And the hint that something was amiss is when workers weren't able to work due to the mess. When people say things, you hear a phone call and they say, this place is disgusting. You don't really believe them because you're not thinking like this. But that was your clue. Now, they said that they couldn't inspect the property because of the coronavirus pandemic, and that could be too. But this is disgusting and terrible. So now you've got a landlord that's terrible, and now we have a tenant that's terrible. This is terrible. Shouldn't do this to anybody. And we're going to get stories after the moratorium about this in the United States. I have no doubt. And it's going to be bad. But that is what it is. So then we have the next one. I have to do this, and then I have to go over here. And this is the one that I'm a little bit, I've been upset with all 3 of them really, but this one here says, bizarre moment, 2 brothers hire an excavator and destroy their mom's house to ensure their sister doesn't get a cent of the auction proceeds over a bitter family feud. And I guess what I would say to everyone as a public service announcement is, families get, maybe you don't know this, but family controversy, family frustrations can often build up during real estate deals at the end. Children can team up against the executor. Real estate agents get caught in the middle, and I've lost listings for this very reason. So I had, there were 5 kids. I knew the executor. She called me. She said, hey, can I sell my house? And I said, sure, we can sell your house. But the executor, she was also taking care of her family. They were in a an elder care place, and the father had dementia, and the mother was just depressed, and it was really bad. And so it was taking the toll on this woman, and her sister was just attacking her for picking me as the real estate agent, and just a jerk. And finally the executor, the lady that I knew, she said, this is just terrible, and I'm already in a bad situation. And I told her, and maybe I'm a bonehead, but I said, you know what, just I don't want to cause any trouble with the family. Go ahead and do whatever your sister wants, and just make sure your parents get the care that they need, here at the end of their run. Will I get any business back from that lady? No, probably not. But there was something messed up about, why would I want to get involved in a situation where I'm causing more problems for a family when they're clearly got their own issues that they need to work out? So I understand this. I guess maybe 20% of the business that I do is like, estates at the end, and working through people's emotions at the end is not so good. It's very difficult. So that's when I see this story here. Two brothers hire an excavator, and they destroy this property. It turns out there's 3 kids, okay, and these 2 brothers. I often look at age, and maybe that makes me a bad person. I always think that older people are smarter, as far as like they're more experienced and they don't do stupid things. Like a 20-year-old, they run something through a house. I'm totally good with that. But 58 and 57 years old, these 2 brothers flew in and destroyed their mother's house to rob their sister, who's 61, of any money made as a result of the sale. And during the trial, it says the brothers were determined that their sister wasn't going to get a cent, and they would rather pull it down piece by piece than share the money. In 2018, they listed the house for sale and called the real estate agent that was listing and claimed that Kerry killed his mother, or the oldest sister, and that would continue to take items to the house until there was nothing left. And so that was in 2018. And you can see, they're real happy about what they did. I think it's great that they're destroying this house, and they accuse the older sister of murder, and that's great. The mother died in 2013, and so why it took 5 years for them, to get to the point where they're ready to sell the house is a little bit off. But it says the family war was kicked off when they were told their children would receive $10,000 in trust payments as part of the estate. So then the house was sold on December 12th of 2018 for $99,000, but they had already destroyed, they'd already started pulling stuff out, and it says intentional water damage saw the buyer cancel their purchase before the settlement date. So then it came up again for sale March 29th, 2019, a year later. But the brothers the day before started destroying the house, and so that's what it looked like before, and that's what it looked like after. The thing is as they're destroying this house, they filmed it, which if you're going to commit a crime, it'd probably not be a good deal. But the judge said that it was an entirely irrational response. Denying their sister $30,000 in the house's sale would see them lose a combined $60,000 as a result. It says family disputes bring out the worst in people. And so, yes, family disputes are not great. That's why when I work as an agent, I don't expect things to go smoothly when I have to deal with these types of things, because people everyone wants to make it out that it's a rational decision. There's nothing rational about selling a house. It's 90% emotion. And in this case, these people were nuts. That's all there is to it. And as an agent, you were never gonna have success listing that house because these people they're willing to commit a crime just to mess with their sister. So, if I could say one thing to do, like, make sure that your loved ones have, their will in place, and make sure everybody's up to date and up to speed with what's in there. If you have a deed transfer or something like that, that should help. But just know that, people are going to react to death differently in different ways in a family, and it can be pretty terrible. So, on that really positive note, I hope I put forth some information that was helpful to you, valuable to you. If you liked our content, please click subscribe. Please subscribe on our podcast. Anywhere that you look, you'll find it, and that's on Deerwood Realty and Friends. And I will catch you on the next one.